Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Star Trek edition of the Secret Origins of Mint Condition. I am one of your hosts, James, and I am once again joined on the bridge by my J crew, a little smaller than it usually is, but still strong. So, of course, is joining me Joe
Hey James, how you doing? How you doing, folks?
and Josh.
Do they still have sandwiches here?
Love that
That's
line.
a lie. And if you've seen what the feed is, listeners, then you know we are talking about Star Trek 2009 today. I kind of chose this movie just to kind of go in line with the time traveling Star Trek movies we've talked about this year. It also goes in line with the, should we say, the studio's notes that Josh, you pointed out after Star Trek 4 was time travel was big and the Earth has to be in peril, which check for Star
Check
Trek
check.
2009. Dive in as we are wont to do here, where we're not going to do a breakdown. We're going to give some thoughts, and hopefully we'll get some deeper discussions. But Joe, I'm gonna start. If Jack was able to join us today, what was? Let's have you recount what you and Jack were talking about, and then we can kind of expound on it. Let's start right there.
Okay, so we're going back 16 years, so it's gotta. There's a lot of cobwebs and baseball crap up in my head, so I gotta get that out of the way. Basically, I enjoyed the film. He didn't, and and Jack, please in the comments say I never said that. Joe's misremembering, but I think Jack. I think the gist of the conversation was that Jack didn't think it was Star Trek. Uh, it was something different. And I've seen the film a few times since I saw it in the theater and since we had that discussion. And when I watched it this morning, probably the first time in 10 years. No, not in 10 years, maybe 5 years. I'm kind of moving towards Jack's camp. This is a good movie. I think it's an okay Star Trek movie. I don't think it gets a Rotten Tomatoes 94 and IMDb of 7.9 out of 10. That's pretty high, you know. But I can't help myself when I watch a Star Trek movie. Everything is compared to the voyage home, and that's the bar for me. And I know this is more. This is, if you want comic book parlance, this is either an Elseworlds or a what if story, because it plays fast and loose with the timeline, and it sets up a new timeline, and characters are seemingly the same, but they're different in different ways. But yeah, we discussed it at length one afternoon, and I defended it. Now, if Jack was here tonight, I don't know, maybe he's changed his mind on it, but I think more inclined to agree with him all these years later that it's a good action adventure film, and I think that's what they were going for, a summer popcorn movie for people that had no Star Trek experience or very little Star Trek experience. It succeeds there, but if you're a Trekker or a Trekkie like Josh, and I don't know how Josh feels about this, but like I am, I found it lacking at times, and there's certain things that were conspicuous by their absence, even though it was another timeline and another you know the Kelvin timeline as they call it. So that's my initial thoughts.
No, those are good. I mean, that's exactly where I want to start. I mean, I think that's the. We'll see where this takes us in our conversation, but I think the question is we're starting with it's a good movie. I mean, I think overall it's a good movie. Joe, all your points is a good summer blockbuster action movie, but is it a Star Trek movie? So, Josh, is this Star Trek? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's tricky. Firstly, I basically more or less agree with everything you said, Joe. Star Trek '09 was, I mean, first of all, there was something kind of, if you put yourself in the mindset of 16 years ago, which, by the way, as soon as you said it was 16 years ago, I almost fell out of my chair because that is
Right?
just absolutely insane. Star Trek was basically a dead or at least a dormant franchise.
Yeah.
Um, Enterprise had been off the air for 4 years.
Wow, 4 years?
Um,
Wow.
yeah,
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
it was the first, which was the first time in 17 years that there was no new Star Trek production happening. So if you remember at the time, everyone was kind of like, who was a Star Trek fan or who cared about Star Trek, everyone was kind of, a little uncertain about what its future was going to
Mm,
be. And I think one of the things about Star Trek '09 that was, I think, a relief or a good sign was they were clearly spending a lot of money on it, which meant that Paramount cared about it.
mm.
Um, which depending on your perspective could be a good thing or a bad thing. So yeah, seeing Star Trek treated with that big budget summer tentpole approach and the summer tentpole money and gloss and flashiness. If you remember, the marketing at the time was all over the place. I mean, it was a huge movie.
Hmm.
um and it was also really cool that they um were returning to the original series.
Hmm.
So there was a sense that, okay, they're really trying to return to the basics here. And it was cool to see the primary color uniforms and um that sort of, I would say, retro aesthetic mixed with Apple Store 2000s
Oh, I
Yes, I'm
love
glad you
that.
said that because
I
I was
love
like,
that analogy because
I love
that's
that because I was like trying to think the bridge reminds me of something, and now you say Apple Store. I feel like
It's
the
an Apple
bridge was
Store,
an
man.
Apple Store.
It's an Apple
I had
Store.
trouble with the design of the bridge, but that's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
So that is
Well,
perfect.
um and the other thing too was that whole opening sequence was fantastic.
Yes, it's like a mini movie, right?
Yeah, it's like a mini movie, and it's so, it really works on so many levels. It's like a
Mm,
hell of a way to start a movie. So I think there was a lot that there was to be there was a lot to be pleased with. And I think the success of the movie, the critical success and the financial success, and also, frankly, I have heard anecdotally from many people that this was their introduction to Star Trek. So after seeing this movie and really liking it a lot, they sought out the shows, in the
good.
original show, and watched Next Generation. So if the idea was to revitalize the franchise, um, I think Star Trek '09 certainly accomplished its mission. From there, I think it was, more of some mixed results. But this movie was certainly successful. Is it a good Star Trek movie? Um, I, I, it's, it, I hesitate to say no, it's not, but I don't want to say no, it's not.
I feel that way too. I'm torn that way too. Yeah.
Because it is a solid movie. It is good, and there are a lot of things about it that I like, and I also appreciate the hard job, the fine line that they were walking. It's like you have to satisfy very particular audiences and accomplish some diametrically opposing goals, which is to give something to satisfy the fans, but also not seem so impenetrable or so, you know, I don't know, nerdy or whatever, that uh, it it feels like something that your girlfriend would want to go see, or your mom would want to go see with you. And yeah, that opening sequence certainly proved that they, when they're firing on all cylinders. I think that that scene checks all the boxes. I think that
Mm.
there's something there for Star Trek fans. I think that there's something there for general audiences. I think it's emotional. I think it's exciting. I think it's mysterious. It's the music's incredible. So
Mm.
yes, so I mean, when you turn on this movie, you're like, oh right, this is good. And then from there, it's not a
That's
good
good.
movie. It's just
It gets
um
very convoluted. I think. I mean, I will just. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off,
no
Josh. I
no
just was.
Not
I was just gonna say,
rambling.
I think it's a good movie. Like I agree with both of you. It's a good movie. It's fun. I think if you watch it and you're not putting it through the critical lens of a Star Trek fan or a person who's knowledgeable of the Star Trek universe, it's a good movie overall. I feel a little bit they were trying to double down on not just making an entry point, but also like let's get the fans by getting Leonard Nimoy in there. Like we're gonna have our cake and we're gonna try to eat it too because we're going to show you actors playing the characters you love. And also, I want to say I think all the actors did a phenomenal job. Carl Urban's Dr. McCoy,
Spot on.
spot on. Like he
Yeah.
was like channeling DeForest Kelly. I feel like
Not only the
but
voice, but the inflections, the
the inflection, the
movements.
body language,
Yeah.
the everything.
You had
But
fuck the mind.
yeah, but but I feel like they went like I'm happy to see him. But I feel like the original Spock thing was like, okay, we're gonna we're gonna do this because we've introduced time travel. But anyway, maybe I'm rambling on. I'm sorry, Josh. I just like that just set me off on a little bit of tangent.
No, that concept of having that connection to the original show and the original continuity, I think it's a double-edged sword because I think it's simultaneously a really great, fun, clever idea, but at the same time, I think it ended up hamstringing them a little bit. I actually think the worst thing about it was that they returned to that well in the following movie.
Good point.
Because once again, ironically, as with The Force Awakens, switching Star franchises here, my opinion of it was really determined by what followed. I thought it was a really great setup. I thought it again checked all the boxes. And now that we have established this new situation and design, language, and all of that, now let's see what she's got. But what ended up happening was they didn't quite break free from the continuity nods and the wink wink nudge nudge of like, oh, you know who this is in the second one. In fact, they kind of doubled down on it, which I think really hurt that second movie, and I think really hurt the prospects of the summer movie franchise that they were hoping Star Trek would turn into, which again, I think I said this earlier, but that is what they keep getting wrong with Star Trek, is when they try to make it like every other big budget action adventure summer tentpole franchise. It's like you can do that with these ingredients and like make it look like that, but it doesn't really fit perfectly. It's like not really what Star Trek is good at.
No, there's no big social issues that reflect our times in this film. It's a coming of age film for Kirk. It's it's also Spock learning to deal with grief and loss. So those things resonate, and those are some of the better parts of the film. But watching Star Trek, Next Gen, and of course Deep Space Nine, you're looking for those. You're looking for the allegory. How does this reflect back what's going on in our world? And it's not there because it's an action adventure film disguised as a science fiction film.
There's nothing there to like. I mean, I hesitated asking the question because I think it's a whole separate podcast like we did for Star Wars. Like, what is Star Trek? I'm gonna pause. But if I had to say it, like Joe, like you're saying, a social issue or even something that you walk away from. Sometimes Star Trek just made you think larger than your, it made you like fourth dimensionally think for a moment. Like, oh, that's an idea. I've never considered that. Where I just don't think this film, like you said, there are some human elements of Kirk's coming of age and Spock dealing with loss and reconciling his Vulcan and human side and finding a balance. But kind of outside of those character growth issues that you would expect in any movie, just in general, character growth and character challenges. I don't think there's anything metaphysical, science, timeless issue in this movie that is the hallmark of Star Trek.
Yeah, there's no questions raised.
I think there's one, but I don't think the movie is really that interested in grappling with it. But the idea, like the nature nurture thing. So, like, who is Captain Kirk really, and who is Spock really? So we've seen Captain Kirk for 40 years at that point. No, 50 years, 40 years, 40 years, 40 years.
40 plus years, yes.
And then now we're presented with this new depiction that the timeline diverges the moment he comes into existence, and it affects him directly. He doesn't grow up with a father, and it's implied that he has a stepfather who he doesn't have a great relationship with, and so he doesn't have that support and that encouragement, the upbringing that he got from George, his biological father, and he also spends his youth sort of rebelling against this other father figure, and it creates a slightly different variation of the man. And then there's a question. It's actually kind of, it's a setup right with possibilities. The idea that, like, we know who this guy's supposed to be, but he doesn't know.
Exactly.
And then something similar happens with, not at the same moment. So the Spock we meet at the beginning of the movie is supposed to be more or less the same Spock that we saw in the original series. But then he has a moment of divergence from the events that shaped the original character, where his planet is destroyed and he loses his mother in a very traumatic way. And then it's sort of like, here are these changed men from the heroic legendary versions that we know, and can they still become the people we know they can become, and can they achieve the same sorts of things that their other iterations achieve? So I mean, there's something interesting there. It's just that I think it's sort of incidental to what the movie's really interested in, because it's sort of a plot device or contrivance to allow, like you were saying, James, it's like throwing a bone to Star Trek fans to be like, no, we have Leonard Nimoy here. We're not pretending that stuff never happened. All that stuff happened. And yeah, maybe it ended up a little muddy because of that, especially because, like, this is another version of how time travel works than we had ever seen in Star Trek before.
Well, to your point, Josh, just to to add, that is a good point of, like, the divergence of the timeline of, we know who these people are, but can we see these people become them by the end of the movie? But Spock, the original Spock, also has a hand in making that happen.
Right. Which is why to return to that well in the second movie was such a mistake. Like, they essentially have in the second movie, Zachary Quinto Spock is like, I'm really in a pickle here. If I could only be sure, why don't I call up my old self and just ask him? And it was like showing that that's actually how they're utilizing Spock as a resource in this. Like, I was like, that just, once again, it's like, I'm actually more interested in what's happening with Leonard Nimoy Spock, so you shouldn't have reminded me that he's still out there somewhere, because I want to see that.
Yeah, that's a good question. So just to kind of break, since, again, this is where we want to take us. Do you think at the end, when he's like, you can stay in Starfleet because I'll be helping rebuild Vulcan,
Right.
Does the other Vulcans know that he is from another timeline, that he is Spock from, does, the council that, did he tell Sarek, hey, I'm your son from another timeline, I'm going to help us rebuild Vulcan? This, I wondered, is he share? Because there's not so many Vulcans left, and
Only 10,000 Vulcans. I think Spock would tell them, because Spock can't lie, right?
Right.
And
Well,
obfuscate. So I think he might. I think my head canon, he told.
Because that's actually a much interesting, more story too.
Sure, that should have been a film. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I could very well imagine him doing something like he was doing on Romulus, where he was sort of like nudging things.
Oh, unification.
Yeah, yeah, where he was sort of nudging things along and like trying to keep a low profile, because even Spock would know. Sure, this is a new timeline, but he has knowledge of future developments that he should probably keep to himself.
Mm, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The
I'm derailing us a little bit, but I just
No, that's a good question.
that's just popped into my mind when I was watching that
Well,
end
it's a
scene.
time travel film. You got to ask these questions.
I'm sure there are novels and comics about this.
Sure.
Kirk, obviously, you mentioned he's too rebellious. He destroys that beautiful car, that beautiful Corvette. But, he doesn't have a father figure. Obviously, his foster father is, but I think, Captain Pike is a surrogate father for Kirk in this film. Because he tasks him. And, after he gets beat up in a bar, he tells him what his father did in what, 12 minutes? Which is about the runtime of that first scene of the film. It's around 12 minutes. It's interesting. And he dares him to be better. He dares him to step up and to be better. And that's when he tells him, the shuttle is leaving tomorrow for the new cadets. There's a moment in that film where Kirk gets on his bike and he goes out to the large cornfield in Iowa and he's looking. Now, are they building the Enterprise in Iowa?
It would appear so.
Okay. That reminded me, and please help me. I don't remember if this happens before or after Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen are killed. But that reminds me of the scene when Luke comes out and looks at the two sons, and that's when Luke realizes what he's got to do. He's got to embrace his destiny.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's so that is a great visual scene moment, and I'm sure is the only reason why they're depicting the Enterprise under construction on the ground, is so that he can have that moment. So, it would have been sort of cool if, like, he saw something like glinting in the sky and he was sort of squinting at it and like, but I don't know, neither here nor there. But that returns me to another problem I have with the movie that also, in retrospect, has only made it worse. Is that J.J. Abrams kind of feels like he was like trying to turn Star Trek into Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that just a few years after this, he would end up directing the first of a new series of Star Wars films. I'm like, if you had known then that you would end up directing multiple Star Wars films and be so involved with the Star Wars franchise, would you have, approached Star Trek a little differently? Because I kind of get the impression that he was like just trying to make the Star Wars movie he always wanted to make.
Well, Paramount might also view his point. I might not have been in a position to disagree.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think that anyone had a problem with that.
No. I'm saying Star Trek was like on its deathbed at the time, basically. Like it's and if you pitch it like, hey, what? I mean, not that JJ did this, but if he went in and said, I'm going to do Star Trek, but also like Star Wars, I'm sure Paramount executives like, okay, let's.
Well, so it's very interesting. So there are, believe it or not, some strange, albeit tenuous, but they're there, links to Star Trek 09 and Star Trek the Motion Picture. They're the only two Star Trek movies
I know one
that were designed as like huge cinematic but also cultural events, right? Like and I think we were talking in the trial of Star Trek the Motion Picture parts 1 and 2 that we did. Star Trek the Motion Picture is like kind of one of, if not the last science fiction movie, like mainstream science fiction movie that is very cerebral.
Yes.
Whereas what ended up happening largely I think it's not controversial to say, probably almost entirely due to the success of Star Wars, science fiction, particularly in movies, became inseparable from the action adventure genre, right?
Yeah.
So, ironically, Star Trek '09 is kind of the result of the success of Star Wars, which was also responsible for making Star Trek the motion picture um, come into existence as well. So it's sort of interesting how, like, Star Trek the motion picture, even in the wake of Star Wars, um, they were trying to do a kind of movie that was about to go extinct, and I think a lot of ways represented a blind alley for Star Trek. It was sort of a dead end for Star Trek. Like, they never continued further in that vein. They sort of returned to the action adventure style, except the thing that The Wrath of Khan has going for it is that they had a lot of restrictions and it was very cheap. So they had to get creative with it. And you also had Nicholas Meyer, who's very literary minded and very philosophical, and he wasn't interested in making an action adventure shoot 'em up either.
No.
So you end up with this movie that is really punching above its weight. So much so that every movie subsequent almost is trying to recreate um, the ingredients that resulted in the Wrath of Khan. Even this movie, to a degree, the weak point of every Star Trek movie are the villains.
Yes. Oh, this is a very weak villain. I want to talk about that.
And if you think about it, this movie, definitely the next movie, and even the third movie, it is each one of them are variations of Khan, because their motivation is all revenge and betrayal. Like, that's all that it is. And, like, okay, like, that doesn't seem very Star Trekky to me,
No, we need.
but that's
Yeah.
the well they keep
open this up a
returning
bit,
to.
yeah.
Well, the only one who was different, I guess, kind of was Christopher Plummer in the Six. It was like,
Once again, Nicholas Meyer.
yeah,
There you go. Yeah. Now you brought up something, Josh, about it being an action adventure film, and think about when it was made. At the end of the decade, the first decade of the 21st century, and at that point we had X-Men, 2 Spider-Man movies. Did we have X2 by that point? I think, James.
Yeah.
we might have had X. Yeah, we had X2. Yeah,
And the year before Star Trek came out, we had the beginning of the nascent MCU with the first Iron Man movie. So these people at Paramount are looking at those successes, and all those movies are successes, especially Spider-Man 2 and Iron Man. So they're thinking, okay, well, that's science fiction. It's comic book science fiction. So we can take some of those aspects of those films and work it into this, and make our captain and our first, our Mr. Spock and the other characters almost like superheroes within Starfleet. And I think, good or bad, that's what they I think that's part of the reason that went into this film, and why it doesn't look like classic Trek, because it's a film of the time, albeit a time that was just coming into being. Again, the first decade of the 21st century. But I think you have to look at that. These things aren't made in a vacuum, obviously, and Hollywood is known for I don't want to say repetition. What's the word I'm looking for? Help me here.
Jumping on trends.
Yeah, trends. Yeah.
Repeating what works.
Yeah, exactly. We've discussed this before. So the word will come to me eventually, but yeah.
Well, this is another point I was going to bring up, and Josh, this is something they talked about.
Derivative. Thank you.
Oh, derivative. Yes, derivative. There you go.
It takes a while for the neurons to fire.
Well, we got there.
The synapses are getting further and further apart between the neurons. Yes.
But Josh, this is something that they bring up a lot, I guess, on the Inglorious Treksperts, is that this movie also set the design element of discovery and strength. Like, that's their thing. which I guess I can see a little bit, because like when Discovery came out, that does not look like, I guess we've talked about this in our Strange New Worlds follow-up episodes, like how retro do you get, but also do a modern TV show.
Yeah, exactly.
And I would say like the Discovery set of being the new era of Star Trek post JJ movies, I mean, definitely feels slicker, closer to what he's depicting in these movies than obviously we saw even in, let's say, well, yes, even slicker than Enterprise. I mean, I'd prefer it would look more like Enterprise than I would look at like, what Discovery ended up doing for their set.
Fair criticism. I mean, lens flares aside, which is a hallmark of Mr. What's his name there? Why can't I think of the
JJ?
Thank you, J.J. Abrams. That bridge, does it even have walls? It's just so brightly lit. It's like I don't know where anybody is. They seem, as they move around the bridge, people seem to be in different spots. I can't get an angle. Where is Uhura Station? And then of course when you talk about Star Trek Discovery, that bridge is too big and dark. It's ridiculously big. It's so big. It's like that is not logistically or militarily functional for what that ship has to do. And this it's almost too small, but at the same time it's so bright that it looks more like a sick bay than a bridge to me. I did not like the design of the bridge at all. There are other designs in the movie I like. I think oh my God, Vulcan looks great. I love everything about Vulcan, inside and out. That's just fantastic. But yeah, I think there's some design problems in this film too that just that bother me, and that the bridge was one of them. I had to bring that up. I'm sorry.
No. I mean, I was just bringing like I think this is the aesthetic they went with when they rebooted Star Trek, but that's just my feeling on it.
Yeah, I get it. It's like there's the original Star Trek was made for not a lot of money and
cheap.
Under restrictions that these productions no longer have. But that said, every time they try to redesign those original designs, they end up with something that is lesser than the original. Every single time. I'm not even really a fan of the Enterprise in this movie. I'm talking about the exterior now.
It's sleeker and
like
the cells are very
it's
different.
It's too sleek. It's like what? Like there's something about that original design. They iterated upon it with the motion picture refit, which is also absolutely gorgeous.
That's the design they should have gone with this film, the motion picture refit.
And you can see that was they incorporated some design elements, some like subtle details from the movie Enterprise, but there's something about the simplicity and the straightforwardness of that design, and there's also something about the fact that it's not sleek makes it seem to have a reality because it seems more functional, and yet the way the design elements all sort of kind of interact with each other, like the whole presentation of it looks very elegant.
It does. Yeah, that's the right word. It looks elegant. It's a beautiful like I forget who designed the original Enterprise.
Matt Jeffries.
Matt Jeffries, like that's like he hit it out of the park.
I have a question. How big is the inside of this freaking Enterprise? Is it a Tesseract? Because it is so freaking huge. I mean, engineering has pipes and looks like I don't know, huge tanks of whatever. It's just it's too big, and I get the idea that there's action has to go through these sets, but I do appreciate that it was set. These sets were built, although I'm wondering if some of those sets were already in existence someplace else in a factory someplace. But it wasn't CGI. But I mean, wow, and it's too big. It doesn't make any sense.
It's like a comic book element, Joe. Like it's a little bit of a comic book. Like
it's the Fortress of Solitude is what it is.
Yeah.
That bothered me too. the I don't want to be ultra negative here because I do have some good things to say about this
No,
film.
I think. Listen, we're trying to. I think we're trying to resolve is back to the original thing to start this podcast. Is it's Star Trek, and we've all agreed it's a good movie. It's just like the nitpicks we have with it is like
Yeah.
it are trying to reconcile it with what we know of the original series and what we know of Star Trek. And
Something that really bothered me at the time was, Joe, I agree with you. I like the depiction of Vulcan, except the sky of Vulcan is not blue.
Oh my God, you're right.
And that drove me crazy. Because I was
It's
like,
orange red, right? It's a reddish orange.
yeah.
Yeah. Holy crap! I didn't realize that. Thank you, Josh.
And
Wow.
I was like,
Huh? Duh.
what? Like,
How'd they get that
and it's
wrong?
interesting too because first off, I appreciated that they shot some of the exteriors at the Vasquez Rocks, which is that a very distinct rock formation, where it really looks like it's on an alien planet. It's like sort of like a sharp sheet of rock that's on like a 45-degree angle. They shot a bunch of original series episodes there. They shot some of the scenes on Vulcan for Star Trek 4 there. Next Gen shot there, and yeah, so I thought that was cool. But the sky, man, it's not blue, man.
Wow, it's not
I don't know
blue.
why.
You're right. Man, that's
And look,
that's a big faux pas.
I'm not saying that you need to slavishly recreate every detail of the original series. I'm not saying that at all. But this one struck me as very odd because it's the kind of thing that would very quickly communicate that you're not on this planet anymore. And it's very easy to do, to change the color of the sky. So, I don't know why you wouldn't, except if you're just not thinking about it. I don't know.
Yeah, it slipped by somebody, Abrams or whomever. I have a question for the both of you. When Spock is standing in front of the Vulcan Science Council, correct, right?
Yeah.
Has he truly made up his mind that he's going to go into Starfleet, or when he's completely insulted by that racist head of the Vulcan Science Council who says, "Well, you've overcome great difficulties because of a human mother"? I mean, is there, I'm trying to watch Zachary Quinto's face and his where he's standing there, and there seemed to be an eyebrow should have gone up, because that would have sealed the deal if the eyebrow went up. But I'm wondering if he would have entered the academy, but the science academy, but after that horrible comment by these these supposedly intelligent people, I think I think he might have had his, if he had any ambiguity, he had his mind made up after that. Am I reading too much into that, or could that have been part of what was going on there?
that's kind of how I took the scene too. I feel like
Yeah.
he would have gone into the Science Academy to please his father.
Mm.
And I think he applied to Starfleet to please himself. But after those comments were made, I think he was like, "I'm going to Starfleet."
Yeah, like, screw you guys. You're a bunch of old fogies who are just hate humans, and you're you're xenophobes. I'm not going to your academy.
Yeah, that's how I read that scene as well. Whether or not he made up his mind in that moment, hard to say. I do know that he figured out that the Vulcan Science Academy was not for him.
Right.
It is interesting though, Joe, because you mentioned the eyebrow raise. It would have been interesting, possibly even more effective, because one of the things that you see in Zachary Quinto's performance in that scene is that he's emotional. He's a little pissed off.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's that I read. Yes, you could read that there. Oh, without a
And
doubt.
it's definitely an interesting choice given what we know about Spock. Definitely signals to the audience, okay, this isn't your father's Star Trek, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that moment may have been more effective. I think, imagine if he was just silent.
Hmm.
Nimoy would probably have chosen silence.
Nimoy would have. And you would have seen the wheels turning behind his eyes, and you would have seen the emotional turmoil was raging in there through that stoicism that Nimoy was so good at. I think this is just an example in microcosm of how, the mode of filmmaking that these movies are working in, there's not room for any of that sort of nuance. It's like what you see is what you get. It's got to wear everything on its sleeve and be very explicit about spelling everything out and being clear.
Selling your audience short. It's too much of the moviegoer.
Like the idea that you don't have to have the Enterprise under construction on the ground, and you also don't have to have that scene, that shot of Leonard Nimoy watching the destruction of Vulcan from halfway across the galaxy in the sky.
Yeah, that's
like to get the point across. It's like, we get it. Get it.
So Delta Vega is in the same solar system as
right
as Vulcan.
Which I would have let slide as like a creative whatever, but JJ does the same thing again in The Force Awakens when they blow up the capital of the New Republic and they see it in the sky from Maz's castle. And I'm like, what are you doing, man? It's like they don't have to literally see it up. It's like, why? It doesn't make any sense. Anyway.
No.
Doesn't make any sense.
Wouldn't Spock on that frozen planet or planetoid Delta Vega, wouldn't he have felt wherever in the Alpha Quadrant Vulcan is, he would have felt the loss of 6 billion people.
It was as if millions of voices cried out in terror.
Thank you. I couldn't think of the exact line. Thank you. Yeah, exactly.
Something terrible has happened.
Yeah. You better get... Right. I mean, which of course they later used in the very first Star Wars movie.
Part of these podcasts is Josh's impersonation.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like, if you haven't listened to our Star Trek: The Voyage Home episode, go check it out. Josh is on fire in that. We had so much fun doing that, and he's got so many lines that'll just crack you up.
Oh, I appreciate that, though. It's the movie. The movie's so quotable. It's not me.
Yeah, no, that's it. Yeah.
And I don't know if the episode's dropped yet when this is coming out or not, but got a mean Charlton Heston also.
Oh, yes. Planet of the Apes. Yes.
I can't wait to do another Planet of the Apes episode. Speaking of, I think I mentioned in that Planet of the Apes episode that there is a wonderful Star Trek Planet of the Apes crossover comic.
Yes, you did.
That is worth your time.
I'm going to pick up the. I think I can still pick up the trade paperback. I got.
It's on Hoopla, so I'm going to read it.
If you're familiar with the two franchises,
and I am,
you'll be surprised how good it actually is.
I'm getting there. I'm now 3 movies away from seeing all of them. So.
All right.
Yeah. So
cool.
Getting ready for our next Apes podcast, but we digress into
yes.
Apes.
Sorry.
We always digress.
But I mean, to, I guess circle around a little bit to some of the things that we've enjoyed. But something I can't believe when we did the Star Wars prequel episode that I didn't bring this up, and I'm going to make sure I bring this up now. Is the music. So one, for the prequels episode, I just want to say that John Williams, that was the 3 movies, whatever we say about the prequels, that was some John Williams' best score music of all time, I think, across episodes 1 through 3. And Giacchino's music for this, I really enjoyed the score for this movie.
It's great.
Excellent score.
Possibly the best thing about the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's not damning with faint praise either. I mean, it's a fantastic score.
It's an excellent score. I wrote that down.
Michael Giacchino has quickly become one of my favorite composers. Like the movie scores he does, the work he does, and he's a good director too. I saw his foray in directing when he did that Marvel short. Man of many talents. He's gifted artist through and through. But yeah, the score.
Not
The score,
wild about his score for Rogue One, though. He only had like 2 weeks to do that. But
really only wow, I didn't
yeah,
even know that. Yeah, but I still love the themes in the Rogue One score that he did. I mean, I like as a whole, I don't like to listen. I mean, the Star Trek one, I can actually listen to the whole. Um,
yeah, it's great.
the whole
It's
piece
great.
and many of his stuff too. Even some of the stuff that's movies that he doesn't get like that didn't do well, he still did great music for.
Mm.
And like going back to the acting, I feel like all the actors really worked hard to become their counterparts. I mean, Carl Urban aside, I didn't have a problem with Zachary Quinto's
Quinto's
Spock.
great. Pine is great. Simon Pegg is he's
Simon Pegg was
he's just a great actor. He's a great character actor. He's
I mean, Chris Pine found this balance of being with Shatner without being Shatner at times.
There are voice inflections. There are movements that are very Shatner-esque. I think, but of all the actors, and you said this earlier, James, I think it's Urban who really, really nails Dr. McCoy. I mean, that scene when they're discussing at one point in the film, they're all in the same frame, and he's standing there like this, McCoy. It looks like DeForest Kelly, in an old episode of the original series.
I know the shot that you're talking about. I mean, that's how good it is.
Yeah, it's a great shot. It's really a great shot.
His introductory scene is great, like the lines and the quips and the
we haven't discussed Eric Bana, aka Nero, yet. I wrote a little something. I mean, I didn't think I thought Eric Bana's Nero is forgettable and just doesn't sound like a Romulan. I sound like what's his name, Jim Ignatowski in Taxi, when he's complaining about the Romulans. They gave that guy something to say that Star Trek no Romulan would ever say. but it's like, maybe because he's not military, because he's a minor, right? We find out he's a minor, but he's a minor with a huge ship, with an incredible WMD and a big grudge, and it's just like.
Well, funny thing here, again, I'm always a big fan. Like, you shouldn't need extended cuts or additional material, but they released a prequel comic that went along with this movie.
They did.
And
okay,
you see the destruction of Romulus, and you see him. This is an experimental Romulan warship that has integrated Borg technology into it.
Okay.
That he steals, and then that's what he uses to track down. So it looks like that because it's Romulan Borg hybrid ship that he is flying.
Well, it makes sense why it's so freaking big, because Borg cubes are tremendous. But just as a villain, he's very vanilla, I guess. he doesn't do it for me as a villain at all. No, not at all. I mean, he's not Khan. He's not Roberto Montalban. He's not.
But who could be?
Who could be? Right, exactly. He's not.
You need somebody very passionate.
Who plays General Gorkin in Star Trek VI? That's who's the actor? David Warner.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
He's not Gorkin. Who I thought was excellent in that role. But he's there. He's to move the plot. Like, you gotta have a villain, obviously. But I just thought, okay.
I mean, that's the thing. He's a plot device.
Yeah.
He's a plot device, and they try to give him some pathos and stuff, but it's just like it's like a paper thin motivation. And I'm sorry, there's like he does you can see he's trying to do things to like make it a little more interesting, like the take that they use when the Enterprise hails him. And he answers, and he's like, "Hello, hi, Christopher."
Yeah, I love it.
It's like,
are they best friends? It's just so I don't know.
I mean, Eric Bana is a good actor. I think he was doing his best. I mean,
there wasn't anything to work with here. I mean,
he didn't have much of a script to work, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure why he chose the role, but like, I think he's as an actor who can act. Yeah, I mean, maybe it was a summer movie blockbuster, and
good money.
You sometimes got to do the blockbuster to do the roles that you want to do, or the movies you want to do. So
you're an actor. If Chris was here, he would say he's an actor. He's got to work. Actors have to work. Yeah.
I mean, and once again, like they literally make the villain Khan in the next one, and the motivation is more or less the same.
Hmm.
And then in the third one, Beyond, which I know had a whole different production team behind it, but that that villain's motivation was also revenge out of a sense of betrayal and loss. And it's
Is
just
that
like,
what was that Idris Elba as the villain in that
yes,
film?
yeah,
Yeah.
We don't get to see his real face until the very end. You have one of
right.
the greatest actors in the world in your movie, and you disguise him. It doesn't make any sense. I don't even
No,
talk
I
about
agree
that.
with you. Though there is a school of thought that's like, if you're an amazing actor, you really need a good actor to get through the prosthetics. Uh, but that aside, yeah, I mean that again was another movie that really suffered from a shortened pre-production
Yeah.
period. You know, one wonders if like they would have made the makeup a little more. No, no, because the whole thing is the reveal that
Mm,
he is who he is at the end. It's like with my theory about the redesigned Klingons in Star Trek Discovery is
Discovery,
that
right?
the the design was came out of the need to preserve the secret that I'm blanking on the character's name, but that one of them was secretly a Klingon, one of the crew.
Is that from the first season?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. One that they basically grafted
yeah,
genetic material on, yes, onto that
yeah,
Starfleet. Yes, yes.
yeah.
Okay,
So
I do remember that.
so it's an interesting thing, like the development of that, because Brian Fuller left, and then a lot of folks who weren't necessarily Star Trek fans were kind of trying to make something out of what he had set up.
Mm.
And so you could imagine along the way, it's like, okay, well, this character is a Klingon, and we can't know it's him, so we should make it so that the Klingon makeup is a little crazier, so we don't see him. And then no one was there to be like, no, you can't really do that because, I mean, why?
Well, as they established, what in one of the few, and what the season 4 Enterprise, there's the different genetic lines of Klingons that they
Yeah.
have. Yeah,
All right.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So just to like to talk, to take actually to take some of this movie back to the Prime universe. So was the destruction of Romulus what Captain Picard was helping with in season 1 of Picard, like his
I,
work with the Romulans?
yes.
Okay, so that happened. That was an event that led into
Okay,
Star Trek Picard.
Yes.
That's his.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's is that mentioned like in the first few episodes of season one?
Yeah. So
Because I think I remember that because I never got through seasons 1 and 2, and I just skipped to the best part, season 3. Let me see. There's another thing I want. I mentioned this offline to James, and I want to see what you think about this, Josh. But James, when I mentioned the names, there are characters that are conspicuous by their absence in this film. We hear the name Nurse Chapel, but we don't see a Nurse Chapel, correct? Someone mentions her name, but we never see Christine.
No.
Maybe she's too young at the time, but there's no yeoman Janice Rand, and this is a bone I have to pick with current Star Trek, whether it be Discovery or Strange New Worlds. Where the hell is Gary Mitchell? I mean, they spend a lot of time on Earth at the Academy, and he comes out with his best friend being Dr. McCoy in this film. I get things are different, but I need to see Gary Mitchell, man. You got to give me Gary Mitchell because Gary, in the second pilot, the pilot sold the series and created this enormous franchise. He's so important to the franchise, Gary Mitchell, to Kirk, the relationship to Kirk. So I was a little, I had forgotten when I watched this morning that he wasn't in this film, and I was a little annoyed. Have a walk on, you know, have that scene where Gary's supposed to walk into that walking stack of books coming down the hallway, which is Kirk.
well, see,
Well,
but
he's-
that's no longer what this version of
I
Captain
know.
Kirk is.
I know.
But Gary Mitchell.
Kirk isn't a bookworm in this. Exactly.
Gary Mitchell, when we leave him, is a trans-dimensional being at that point, right? Is he like beyond like?
Well, he becomes unto a god, but then Kirk has to kill him
Yeah.
to save the galaxy, basically. And he kills Margaret Houlihan, aka Sally Kellerman, from the movie MASH.
Between Star Trek and Star Trek Into Darkness, there was a comic series where they were doing adaptations of original series episodes with the '09 movie cast.
Oh, really? Okay.
And they did the story of Where No Man Has Gone Before in the new continuity, which I was curious to check out. I don't remember how it played out in the comic, but I do remember that uh, for Gary Mitchell, they just used Gary Lockwood's likeness, so it was a
Really?
little
Okay.
yes, so it was a little strange because he looked exactly like he did in TOS, but nobody else did.
That's interesting.
They didn't think to
Okay.
recast him or anything. Yeah.
Okay. I'm writing this down. I gotta look for this comic book.
Well, I mean, I think we've like talked. I mean, I'm not sure. Do we have any other points about 2009?
Well, I guess one last point to end on a upbeat note here. While this wasn't the best Star Trek film of all time, it is definitely better than 5, 9, and 10. Do we agree on that at least?
Oh, I mean,
Definitely better than 5. Come on, 5 is the worst Star Trek film ever made. It's a horrible film.
I just want to say, Joe, I really appreciate you saying that the worst Star Trek film ever made is not the motion picture.
No, it's not. You've convinced me, and even before we had our trial, the film, I knew. Come on, 5 has no production values. It's just stupid. It's not even Star Trek. It's a comedy of errors. Period. And 9 and 10 are lackluster, bad films. They are.
I mean, Insurrection and Nemesis are.
Oh, Nemesis is a gigantic.
I have not rewatched either one of those. I will at some point if this podcast goes on long enough. I'm going to task us with having to go back to them. But
Nemesis is one of those movies that like you revisit and you're like, this can't be as bad as I remembered, and it's worse.
It's so true. Every once in a while, I will revisit Star Trek 5 just because it's so bad it's good. It's like watching Attack of the Killer Tomatoes or Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. They're so bad it's good.
Yeah, I mean, this movie is. I mean, yeah, I would put it ahead of those 3 movies, Joe. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, at least in my mind. I don't know if Josh agrees, but I would definitely do that.
Yeah,
I would put it ahead of Insurrection and Nemesis for sure. 5 has those campfire scenes.
Yeah, but that's just a bridge to bookends, and that's about it. If that was the entire film, it would be good. It'd be a great film. It'd only be 10 minutes, but it would be a great film.
Yeah, 5 also suffers from that paper thin villain syndrome, and I'm not even talking about Sybok. I mean, Captain Claw, the Klingon. It's like literally, what was his motivation?
Yes.
It's like, why was he doing that? He was just like, hey, maybe I can kill Captain Kirk. Cool. And then, and like, that's what that is?
Yeah. I mean, it's,
like, what is that?
I don't know.
Well, I think we've landed in a good place with this movie. I mean, listen,
we've beamed down safely.
Yeah.
We didn't get our molecules scrambled like what happened in Star Trek: The Motion Picture at the beginning.
That did not happen to us. We did not end up as Nevix or two. Was it two?
Yeah, Tuvix.
Tuvix. We didn't want to miss Tuvix. So we're all good. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a good movie. It's just, as we've talked about for the last hour, it falls missing pieces to make it a Star Trek movie.
Yeah,
but again, putting in the context though, I could definitely see like Star Trek needed a shot in the arm, and
they got it.
They got it, and
Josh alluded to that earlier. At the very beginning, he was, yeah.
Whether or not we agree or disagree that this was a Star Trek movie, I think it did lead to Discovery, which eventually got us Picard and got us Strange New Worlds, which are,
Yeah.
I think we're the last season of Picard and these three now 4 seasons of Strange New Worlds we're pretty happy with. So.
Static. Yeah.
I mean, who knows what's going to happen after Strange New Worlds ends, but we can only hope. But I think Star Trek 9 was a step in the stones to get us to where we are with Star Trek right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not that long ago, we had 4 Star Trek shows at the same time. We had Discovery, Lower Decks, Strange New Worlds, and Picard in one year. We had 4 Star Trek shows, so
Right. And there was a time when we had Next Gen overlapped with Deep Space Nine, and Deep Space Nine overlapped with Voyager, right?
Yeah, but we never had a time when there's 4 shows on it at the same time. So that
Yeah.
was like we had that for 1 year, which is pretty astonishing. That Star Trek like rallied so big. So
Yeah, I think I think I would rather they just concentrate on making one really good.
Yeah.
oh yes, yeah. I wasn't implying that quantity
I
over
know.
quality. I was just more implying that we went through. If Star Trek Nine had not been a success,
Oh, sure,
I
sure, sure.
I don't think I think we were talking about like we talked about Planet of the Apes. Like what happened to Star Trek? Like why is there
Yeah, it's very
no,
possible. No, you're right, James. It's very possible.
you know what happened to Star Trek? Like 16 years. Like we would be doing a podcast right now. Like oh they did that movie that didn't do so well, and that was the end of Star Trek. So
It's like, you know
uh,
what? I think the time is right now to bring Star Trek back.
yeah, that would be the podcast we're having
Been long
right now.
enough.
Yeah. So, uh, well, thank you very much, listening audience, for joining us on this deep dive into Star Trek 2009. If you haven't watched it, I recommend it as a movie, and you can make your own decisions about where it falls in the Star Trek universe. But of course, I could not navigate this movie alone or get down with the landing party safely without my 2 other hosts. So thank you very much, Joe.
Thank you, James. I was lost in the Delta Quadrant. You brought me back.
And thank you very much, Josh.
My pleasure, as always.
And listening audience, if you have your thoughts about this movie, we'd like to hear them. So, however you're listening to this podcast, you can probably leave a comment or share your thoughts about it. We thank you for listening, and we will talk to you on the next episode.